start at 2,000 metres.
And this is episode 75 of Theo Trails Podcast.
Activate your glutes and engage the core. Welcome to episode 75 of the UK's #1 trail running podcast, Tiered Trails. My name is Gary Thwaites and I am feeling the birthday love. Thank you to everybody who wished me a happy birthday. I've had a wonderful week.
My name is Eddie Sutton and I'm one and a half weeks into 2 weeks single parenting. I haven't had a shower for 2 days and I've just washed my face over the sink with the hand wash and dried it with a tea towel. I'm living on the edge, literally.
2 weeks, Eddie. I've got a few days and I'm stressing. 2 weeks.
Breathe and believe, Gary.
Keep that shield high.
Breathe and believe. This week we are joined by The Delight, who is Keri Wallace from Girls on the Hills, Scotland's only guided trail, fell and sky running company specifically designed for women. What a joy it was to meet. Keri's and I paths have crossed in various guises, but we've never actually sat down. Such a joy, this podcast, because you get to we sat down. What a lovely chat we had with Keri, not only about her journey into running, Girls on the Hills, but also, she's a mum, she's a runner, but she's also just had a bit of free time. She's written a book, Running Challenges, a guide to 100 UK running routes. All sorts of runs in there. You guys are going to love it. It's sadly not out yet, but because we are the
Cutting edge.
That's exactly, Gary. This is why this chemistry works. The cutting edge of podcasts. We've read it and we loved it. You guys, you are going to love our chat with Keri.
Thanks to our Patreon partners who share some awesome discount codes with our Patreons. We have Precision Fuel and Hydration, Veloforte, Protein Rebel, Tiki Boo, Mountain Fuel, Outdoor Active, Silver Sweden, Active Route, The Centurion Running Store, Sportshoes.com, Big Bobble Hats, X-Miles, Fawnside Farm Cottages, Ugogo Projects, Hellfire Events, Red Bear Sports, the Alban app, Retainer Group, Cycle Protection, Summit Crazy, Beat It Sports, Lumi Active Wear, Fenixlight UK, Bridgedale Socks. I've been enjoying my Bridgedale socks. I've got them on as we speak. NAB 4 Adventures and Ultra Trails. 2 extra shout out to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Protein Rebel. We use their products every month to help fuel, hydrate and recover.
Somebody commented on Facebook that they hear that introduction in their sleep. Do you reckon if someone put a gun to your head, you'd be able to say that off by heart?
100% no.
Do you remember that game you used to play at parties where they used to put stuff on a tray, the memory game, and you had to remember the 10 things and then they covered it up with a tea towel and they took one away and you had to remember what they were? You're looking at me like, I don't know.
No, I remember something like that. Well, maybe it was an actual physical board game.
We should take one out every week and be the first one to guess who it is.
I would lose. Literally my bandwidth is full up. Something like that would not.
Your bandwidth is full up with your Strava stats. If you'd like to save some money, support the podcast and our partners, then please consider joining Patreon. If you're not sure what Patreon is, don't worry. Just go type in Patreon into Google, pop onto that webpage, look up Tiered Trails. Super, super simple. Also, if you like what Gary and I look like, who wouldn't? We're wearing our delicious autumnal pumpkin hoodies today. We decided we need to up our game. Professionalism.
On brand.
On brand. If you like the look, if you feel I need a hoodie in my life, I need a t-shirt, pop over to Summit Crazy to have a little sneaky look at the Tiered Trails merch. Patreons can enjoy 25% off. So what is there not to love?
Seriously though, Patreon is an awesome way to...
Seriously though,
Patreon is an awesome way to support the podcast. And I always say this to people, friends, if they ask about Patreon. If you don't buy nutrition or kit, then maybe, there's no saving to be made there apart from just physically supporting the podcast. But if you do buy nutrition, kit, or anything like that, then my goodness me, Patreon pays for itself.
Do your mates ever ask for the code Sneaky Backhander?
I've felt a bit of pressure
Have you?
once. Well, not pressure. It's kind of come up in conversation, but I didn't share the code.
No. That's against our podcast oath that we took at the beginning. Thou shalt not.
If another Patreon shared a code with a friend, that's kind of really up to them, but it's not for me to share the codes.
Too right. But then also I find incredible when I find mates that are Patreons, especially mates that perhaps aren't running mates as well. And they suddenly appear with a pumpkin coloured buff, and they're like, "Oh yeah, I'm a patron." I'm like, oh,
I'm going to throw my mate under the bus here, Aaron.
don't. That is again against the podcast oath.
He was instrumental in the designing of the Tea and Trails T-shirt with the logo on the back, down the below. He said, "That's awesome."
Oh yes,
because
down on the
you could
butt
see it.
cheeks.
Yeah, if you've got a vest on, I'll buy one of those, Gary. Has he bought one yet?
Oh,
You know what he came back with from the London Marathon? A Ben Parks cap. God damn him.
there are no words for that.
Anyway, thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Fenixlight for sponsoring this week's show. Super grateful for your support. And don't forget to pop over to Precision Fuel and Hydration, book in with a sports scientist, read some case studies, or use their handy fuel planner. Lots of awesome stuff over at precisionhydration.com.
If you're a patron, you also get 15% off using the code CAPSLOCK T24. Super simple, T24. And we've been called to Precision Fuel and Hydration Towers in the next few weeks.
Ooh, a review.
Keep using the code, guys. Keep using the code.
I'm going to be clicking the links like crazy.
One gel. Buy them all separately.
Well, who wants to go first? Actually, I've seen some awesome pictures for your week.
Have you ever taken pictures? What have I shared? I was just down the gym and this guy said, oh, so you're just warming up. And I named my Strava run long way to the gym with the dogs or something. And so I'd run up, drop the dogs at home, and then run down to the gym, blah, 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 multitasking, single parenting, blah, blah, blah. And he said, oh, so, and I was like, oh my God, who are you? Have you looked at my Strava and now you already know I'm in the gym? So I presumed he was a huge fan. And
Super
then
fan.
I was like, oh, how do you know? And he's like, you waved at me when I was riding past you. I was like, okay. That was quite embarrassing. Anyway, let's rewind. Holy cow, Gary. Take a breath, Eddie. That was quite a week, honestly. You know my love for musicals. I think I should at least be awarded a Tony Award for fitting everything in that I managed to fit in. And as we said before, everybody is still alive. The biggest loss of the week was my HRV. Gary, it was my resting heart rate was up 10 beats by Sunday, and my
goodness.
HRV was down 20 beats. Literally, they go like, gosh, yeah, it's madness, isn't it? It's terrible. I felt so tired. But with our HRV, when we talk about it, it's like, will you choose what you're going to do with it? So I chose to ignore it. And now back up like 20 beats again, even though I woke up this morning thinking there is no way I am going to get my kids on that bus at 7:10 this morning. I am so tired. And then it's like, good morning, you are rested and ready to train hard. And I'm like, go on, did it. Anyway, my sleep at the moment is terrible. I'm just I know everyone will tell, all the women out there will hear my prayers. I'm so tired, but my kids aren't going to bed till like 9:30. But that's my bedtime. Last night, 10 o'clock, and one was still coming in. Mum, I've hit my head. Why have you hit your head? What have you hit your head on? Why are you not asleep?
It does get easier. I don't get this kind of drama with my kids.
The drama, and they're coming up and down the stairs. Like, I just want half an hour to watch the Kardashians. Then they come downstairs and they go, what are you watching? And they look around the corner and they're like, judging me. Oh, the Kardashians. I'm like, no. Don't you come in here judging.
Wagging the finger.
Yeah. Or maybe my sleep hasn't helped because somebody actually called me out and said, are you obsessed with Bridgerton? I'm not obsessed with Bridgerton, but I do enjoy a good smocked, a heavy bosom.
I think I've watched Bridgerton. Is it like a period drama, but it's kind of not quite period drama?
Oh,
saucy.
There's a lot of lifting of the skirts and heavy breathing. And I just love it because it's just good fun. I love this. I love a love story. It is the story of all the books I read as well that Brynna was
Is it a love or a lust story, Bridgerton?
Oh, you could say either, Gary. It's full of both. But they're not together, and it takes 24 episodes for them to get together. But they are going to get together because it's it's the story. So so
Sounds
that
like
hasn't-
Friends.
Yes, they're like Friends. It's not, young children shouldn't watch it. So that hasn't helped my sleep, because then I've been like, it's 11:30, Eddie, turn off Bridgerton. Anyway, let's talk about running, not Bridgerton. I started off the week, Gary. I think we recorded it when I'd just done my 10 by 4 minutes uphill. Oh, I was not fit enough to carry out that session. I was fit enough for about 6 to 7, I reckon. They were good. They were strong. I felt good. You know, I mocked you last week when you were like, I had 4 minutes rest between each one. I had to take a good couple of minutes between each one, because I was finding the minute just straight after each one, I was in such distress.
4 times 10, Eddie. That's rough.
10 times 4 is 10 times 4. 10 times 4 minutes. I somehow naively thought, I just didn't, I was tired. So I was like, I don't fancy a long rep. That seems like the mental strength I don't have. So I'm going to make it shorter, but so I'll enjoy it a bit more, because, I love to run fast. Anyway, I didn't do either of those. I didn't enjoy it, and I didn't run fast.
I'm going to get in the weeds here. From a training point of view, what would be the difference? It's 40 minutes of work, but what would be the difference between 4 times 10 or 10 times 4?
I can go harder on 4 minutes than I can.
Yeah.
So I'm working that higher, people call it different things, don't they? But I'm able to push into that, like I'm dealing with the lactate.
Yes.
The 8 minutes, even the 6 or 7 minutes I do, that breathing is not going super deep. I'm creating the lactate, but I'm able to get rid of it. Whereas the 4 minutes, I'm creating the lactate, and I've just got to sit with it, because I'm just creating more and more. I find that much harder than I'm really happy sitting at that top end of lactate's coming, but I'm able to deal with it. I'm too good at that. I'm not good enough at the dead cow. Dying dog sessions, as I call them. So yeah, the last few, Gary, it was miserable, and I don't think I could hardly lift my legs. It was also wet. I lay down on the ground at the end, and I was sweating so much. I actually then ended up sweating into my eyeballs and having such sore eyes, because and then I was 2,000 feet above home, and I had to jog down, and I think I did some 13-minute mile jogging down.
I think I saw that Instagram story, didn't you? You put a picture of
people love my sisters messaged me going, seriously, you've put this out to the public. You do not look good right now. I'm like, the point. Anyway, then I did the gym in the afternoon, and I was like, I know, please don't come at me, people. It's not ideal, but it's just life, isn't it? I didn't feel great. Pushing that sled was so hard. Again, I had to lie down, still not had a shower between the two. Really, really hurt, really pushed myself. Then my lovely
You went to the gym without having a shower. Oh.
Of course, I don't think I've had a shower since. But what's it for? I don't have time, Gary. The shower takes.
I can't reignite the sweat. That's not a good look for me. Not
really?
A good move for me.
Oh my God, I do that 3 or 4 reignites, and then I have a shower. Anyway, it's Tuesday night. I was like, I'm cooked. I went to my lovely sports therapist. At last, was back, and she was not impressed. She was like, Eddie, I don't think we can actually do anything with your legs. We need to do a pre massage before I can actually. Everything she touched, she was like, ooh,
wow.
oh no. Oh, okay, let's try and release that a bit. And she's very kind to Eddie. I booked 90 minutes, and at almost 2 hours, she was like, I still haven't got to your glutes, but my next person's coming now. I was like, oh God, have I gone too hard now? Everything was hurting. Anyway, you never fear. Well, I don't feel good after I've had someone pummel me. But I switched I normally do a couple of runs on a Wednesday, but I was like, I'm just going to sit on the bike. Couldn't even push 100 watts on the bike. My poor legs were absolutely cooked. Do we ever live and learn, Gary? Absolutely not. The next day, it was sunny. I didn't have any calls, so I didn't have to be at home. So I was like, The day before, absolutely roasted, couldn't move. I was like, I know it's a good idea. I'm going to go out for 5 hours.
Brilliant. Exactly. Can you imagine if like you were coached?
Don't, please don't, please don't. But also what I'm really good at like now, so this 5 hours, I packed up loads of food, loads of drink, and I went at like super easy, walked, stopped, sat down. I was like, I'm just going to enjoy the first sunny day we've had in the mountains. Super quiet because there's no tourists here. Literally, I think I saw one person trying to carry their bike over snow at the top of the col, but I didn't see anybody. It was just delicious. No like training, like no need to be anywhere. I mean, that is just like that never happens. So
yeah,
and actually I felt fine, but then also I walked everything over 5%. So I was like, oh, I feel fine. I was like, yeah, but you didn't try. You normally run up this when you're hiking. Poor Tarka. She's 10 now. It was a big day. It was like 5 hours. I think we were out. The next day, we're going to go my Friday long run with the girls. And I started off with Tarka and everyone was waiting for me because I was late. C'est la vie. And I started running with Tarky and she was like, Mum,
no way, time out.
So we did a little loop and then I was like, and it's really tricky, isn't it? Because she's looking at me with like her big brown eyes going, I could be okay. But I'm like, yeah, but you're like, you're already 20 meters behind on the 1K loop. Let's just go home. And then we got home. And then the minute we got home, she was like, yeah, this is good. I said, I'm not going to put you in the back room. You can have the range of all the sofas and you can just go and have quiet time without Lindy. And she was like, Mum, this sounds good.
What a treat.
I said, there's the remote. Just help yourself to anything in the fridge.
I'd have made some toast.
Anyway, and I had another. This is madness. I had another long run with my friends, bringing up the rear gallery. My little legs were like, oh. A couple of them are training for TDS, so they wanted to just go uphill. I was like, I'm happy to go uphill, but I'm not running a step uphill. And so we did a couple of big 1,000-meter climbs that were not quite as clear as snow as we hoped. We decided we went up the south side of one of them so that there wouldn't be any snow. Because I thought it'd be easier to come down where there's snow, like on the piste, because it's just, you can just like ski down it. There was another lady coming up the other side and you had to just like clamber down the side because the path was all covered in snow, like on our butt cheeks. And I dropped my Lecky pole and she picked it up and everyone was sniggering going, oh, a Lecky sponsored athlete. I was like, oh, my legs. She's like, here's your pole. And then we had to ski down the piece on the snow. And have you ever seen the videos of people that can like ski on their trainers down the snow? We tried to recreate it's really hard.
When I see these fell runners just go flying down the fell on street.
We got better. There was quite a lot of snow, so we definitely got better. But a couple of my friends, don't want to throw them on the bus, but are really good skiers, really bad coming down on the snow. But it was super fun. Trails were opening up. We went on a few little paths that we haven't been on for ages. And actually, that second long run, I felt really hungry because when I'm single parenting as well, my eating is terrible because you just like cook for the kids and then pick, and then I basically have a jacket potato every night.
I just eat beige food.
I don't eat beige. Well, my jacket potato is beige and my hummus, but I just eat the same thing every night because there's no mental capacity to actually create a meal. Actually, the second long run, then a couple of us, we carried on, and I actually felt better as we went on than I had when we started out, when I felt like a 40-year-old old woman, which is what I am anyway. Got to the weekend, Gary. Kids had a busy weekend and hadn't done 2 of my gym sessions. My strength coach messaged me saying, why are you... It's hilarious what he said.
Wagging his finger.
You're not going to get stronger by bicep curling salmon bottles. Get yourself to the gym. I was like, don't worry, coach. I'm going to get them done, thinking, and he was like, don't do them back to back. And I was like, no, how am I going to fit this in? Anyway, he was like, I won't do them back to back. But then, of course, the weekend came. I still hadn't done 2 of them. So I was like, there's no way with the children that I'm going to get to the gym twice on a Saturday and Sunday. So it is going to happen. It is going to have to happen back to back. Anyway, only had 2 children on the Saturday. So we decided to do a hike up something called Tête du Bassin. You might have heard it at the start of this podcast. It's a big old climb. It's about 16K and 1,300 meters, 1,400 meters. They have done it before. I think they've done it with Ski Club. We packed up sandwiches. We got obviously tea. It took up, my bag was so heavy because if you've not hiked with children, or if you're thinking you've got young children, you're like, oh, what? I want to do hiking with them. What can I do? The biggest thing you need to take is more food than you think is humanly possible, and sweeties, so that basically every 10 minutes you've got to stop to have something to eat. Otherwise, what is the joy in it? So my bag was so heavy. Anyway, as we were packing up the bag, I almost hung the laundry outside because it was so sunny and hot. We went up, always pack coats anyway, because you never know what the weather's going to do in the mountains. Yeah. But we were in shorts, went up the mountain, started up the mountain, and it started spitting on and off. It was still sweaty. It's that weird weather. And we didn't have coats on. So I was like, just start off in the tree. So I was like, oh, it's okay. It's okay. And then we got up to like the first refuge, really started blowing a bit of a hoolie. And over the next mountain range towards Chamonix, you can see Mont Blanc, and the dark clouds were like over that side. The wind was like coming towards us. So I was like, well, that could blow parallel to us, and we might be staying this bit of like, so it was great. We were like working out, and I was saying to the kids, and I was like, they really want to get to the top. And I said, but if that cloud comes any closer, we have to turn around. They're like, why? I'm like, well, let's just talk about a little thing called hypothermia and Mum not having enough clothes for all of you. So we carried on up. You get to like this really steep like saddle, and then once you're over the saddle, you've still got a couple of K to go, but it's like a more open meadow. It's beautiful and it's easy walking. And I was like, oh, we so nearly got to that. But anyway, got up to this saddle, but really steep. Like little legs are like almost hands on the grass. It's that steep, and the wind was so strong. And then I was in my heart, I was like, I can't. They're in shorts and t-shirt, but I've only got a coat. I've got to turn back. But they were I was like, look, I was like, imagine if you went to Everest and you could see the top, but you're like, it's not the day. They were really good. They're like, you make the call, Mum. I was like, I think we should turn around. We're hot now because we're going up. And also this is really greasy. I was thinking more of me. I was like, I don't want to come down this on my butt. So we started coming down, and then I was so pleased we had, because both of them were like, and they're hardcore mountain kids. They don't put coats on to go skiing in -20. And both of them were like, can we have our coat? And then the heavens opened and we got absolutely drenched. But we were back, like we got back into a bit more civil, like back on the track, into the trees. And I was like, oh, I'm so
Could you
pleased.
see the cloud just coming in?
Yeah, the cloud came in so quick that then we couldn't see anything. We were just in the cloud, like within like that. We were watching it, and I was like, it looked like it's in the next valley, but it just rolled in so quickly. So I was so pleased. Not that even if the only thing that would have happened is that they'd have been really cold and miserable coming down. But also I'm always like, if you trip kids, which should be highly likely because they come down like absolute animals. I'm like, if you trip and you broke a leg, Mum's strong, but I'm not sure. It would take me a long time to carry you off the mountain. So we always had to be. So it was a good life lesson, but they were a bit sad. But yeah, I was so pleased we turned around. We had soggy sandwiches. The van seats are still wet. And then we came back, and here I made another big mistake. Not only the hike up the mountain in the rain, that wasn't a mistake. That was life lessons. We then watched Marley and Me.
Don't watch that. No.
Why did I do that? Britain was like, what were you thinking? I knew the dog died at the end, but I thought that they got a new dog, and it was like the circle of life. A new dog came and it was all happy at the end. Oh, no. The children were absolutely distraught by the end of it. And we had to turn it off, Gary. They were like, oh my God.
What kind of a film's this?
Anyway, so You win some, you lose some. Don't watch Marley and Me with small children. Got to Sunday. I realised this is going on and on. Do you think everybody's turned off? Are you still awake there?
I'm with you. I'm still with
You're
you.
with it.
Just wetting my
Thanks,
lips.
Gary. Football tournament, of course, because what is a weekend without a football tournament? Still not done my gym sessions. Still not done my speed sessions, my last speed session. What am I going to do? Oh my God, how am I going to fit this in? I don't need to fit it in, but I almost thrive off this adrenaline rush of how I'm going to fit this in. So I took all three of them to the football tournament. Only one of them was playing and the other two were arbitring. What's that called? Is it refereeing in football? And so I dropped them. I'm going to be back in a few hours. I've got work to do. I did actually have work to do, but I'm going to do the gym first. So went to the gym, looked at what I had to do in the gym and thought, I can do this. I can do this back to back. I'll do my speed session tonight on the treadmill. I'll do my gym now, then I'll recover, loads to eat. It'll all be fine, Eddie. Did my gym. Actually, it was fine. Yeah, fine, good. Get nobody in the gym apart from me. So I was like, yes, dumbbells everywhere. I made such a mess. That took me just over an hour. And then I thought, do you know what? I could jump on the treadmill and do my speed session and then it could be done. Then all I need to do is work and look after the kids. Is that shall I, shan't I? And I was like, I'm going to do it. I'm going to leave them. I was like, all right, the football tournament? Yeah, all fine, Mum. Okay, right. Jumped on the treadmill. And I've not done a session after weight. Often I run home after weights, but I've not done a session on the treadmill after weights. I've always chosen to do the session first and then the weights.
Yeah, I would do that, yeah.
But I did this second and actually I felt great. I did 5, 5, 4, 4, 3, 3, 2, 2, 1, 1 minutes.
Love it.
Increasing effort. Love it. Totes classic. Love that one. Especially on tired mind where you just it feels like you've won by the time you've done the 4 minutes. I didn't have my heart rate monitor because I hadn't planned to do the run then, but I was taking the heart rate off my watch, which is dodge, isn't it? But it felt really good. I felt really strong. I couldn't always do weights and then intervals, but it definitely felt like everything was working. And then I was so pleased I had Gary because then I had work to do in the afternoon and then kids and every Sunday. Oh my God, the Sunday night homework shower.
It's a relief, isn't it, when you get it done?
Oh,
I know it's funny because we love running and it's this joy.
I know. And I don't really need to be training as hard as I am because I've got ages until my next race. So I've got to give myself a bit of grace this week, but also I love the fitting it all together. And I find actually if I am on my own and I've got the kids and stuff, if I feel more empowered and energetic if I'm doing my training alongside it than if I sack it. If I don't do anything, oh my God. I did manage to tick everything off. Would you look at that and go, you're a fine line, Eddie, a very fine line, but another week done. And I'm holding on to the fact that July is going to be a total write-off with the kids. So I'm holding on to the fact that I've got 2 more weeks and cramming it in, all against every philosophy and training manual. Be consistent rather than a hero, or be both, a consistent hero.
You're my hero.
Stop it.
That was quite an entertaining week.
I'm so sorry. How long was that?
Well, I'm another one who's crammed their session on a Sunday. I think I went to the gym on a Sunday too.
That was terrible, Gary. 4 o'clock session on a Sunday. It's almost country file time. How can you even? It's almost against the law.
It's just the way the week went. This one workout a week sounds brilliant on paper, but the reality is I kind of go a bit relaxed on it, a bit loosey-goosey, and then it's like, oh, shit, it's Sunday. I still need to do it. But this is, like we said last week, the non-negotiables. I'm at this phase of training now, so nailed the first strength session. Did it at home, though. That low-hanging fruit session that I love to do. Yeah, big tick ahead of the game on Monday. And then I also, especially after speaking to Zoe Murphy, medium long run on Tuesday, zone 2. I love that. That was quite flat. Sometimes you can do zone 2 and it's too traily, so you walk in some of it, but this was quite flat. So it actually did give me a chance to run. Started off red hot, then it went windy, then it actually poured it down too. And the water didn't break my headphones, but it drained into my ears. So
and then it pools. That's horrible.
Yeah, it was not a nice sensation. But yeah, I really enjoyed that because I've neglected that medium long run, so it's good to get that done, especially as I'm only doing one workout a week. Easy Wednesday. I love an easy Wednesday with strides too. And strides are, I just feel they are just a free workout. You don't, they're not a kind of heavy load, but I think
They're
bang
not a
for your
workout,
bucks.
Gary.
Yeah, but as training for ultras.
No.
But I would never do anything under, I know it's only for, say, 20 seconds, but I would never do anything under a 6-minute mile. So to have,
To be fair, it's the only time I see a 5 something come up on my watch, and it's only after about 6 or 7 strides that I can actually.
Oh wow, yeah, the first 3 are like literally.
The first 3 are like clunky old, like I'm like they in Wizard of Oz when the Tin Man goes, "Can you give me a bit of oil?" But it's amazing how good you feel when you've done them. Then you go back to running, isn't it? You're like, yeah, baby.
Yeah, it's just like 30 seconds, 20 seconds, then walk back to the start. I absolutely love doing the strides. And for some reason, it does seem a bit of a friction every week. I only really probably get 1, a maximum of 2 a week.
I forget. Do you forget?
Yeah.
I forget if I program them into clients' watches if I'm like, you need to do this before a workout, if I really want, because otherwise it's quite easy not to. Or also sometimes they feel a bit daunting, don't they? When you're like, you're a bit tired, but you
as much as I love
better
reps,
after them.
you
can't do them with a dog.
Yes. So it's like going home, and I know it sounds like, oh, well, first world problems, but going home, and then I tend not to go back out in the dog game once I've got in. Thursday, what did it say? Oh, yeah, buggered off the lakes. I had a 13 Valleys Ultra Recce, Blencathra Centre, all the way to Glenridden, and I did not appreciate. I never thought for a second I would get 6,000 feet of elevation, but that was because
we matched each other on that day pretty much, didn't we?
Yeah, but you had 2 other epic runs, didn't you? I think you a lot more vertical than me. But yeah, I think it was because we went up to Six Pass, which is short and sharp, but then you go down to Glenridden, then you turn round from Glenridden and go back up to Six Pass again. So that was the vert.
Did you stop anywhere in Glenridden? I had a nice sausage roll there. Oh.
Didn't have. I had a veggie sausage roll actually from Greg's. I got a veggie sausage roll.
Oh, did I inspire you? I've driven past that place a couple of times and I've been like, no, do not turn in, Eddie, be strong.
But I didn't have time. I had to pick Esme up from school in Durham on the way back. So yeah, it was.
Oh my God, I can adore that. Sitting around, no lying on the ground, no listening to lovely soothing music. I had to turn around
and off I went back up to Sticks Pass. Few silly nav errors, so I do need to go back. Time's running out though, because after Lakeland 100, I'm not really going to want to go and do much running.
What is it marked, the 13 Valleys?
No, it's end of September, so it's
is it marked? Not is it marked?
Oh, March. Pretty sure it is not marked. And there's a few, it's not, but you're not going to get, especially if your GPS watch is still working.
Yeah, how can you go wrong with a GPS watch?
Well, there was a few sections where you were maybe on a trail and there was a gate on a wall that you had to go into a field.
Yeah, I hear you. Yeah.
Little silly things like that, which for the most part, at least, Lakeland 100, I just switch off. I like say 95% of the route I'm pretty comfortable with. So yeah, a few, but I won't do it all. I'm definitely not going to 100% do every part of that route. But yeah, just to try and iron out a few creases. I owned a field though, so the last few miles.
May the Lord forgive you. What? How?
I just didn't.
You didn't fuel to the end, which we should add to the end of this podcast because it's so important.
Oh, wow,
that last bit of fuel can make such a difference to the end of your run. And then mentally, you finish your run feeling good because you're on a lovely sugar.
Yeah. I ran past an old couple and I just thought, oh, wow, I hope this is Lisa and I as we age. But they were just on the fell.
I tried to eat them.
Well, I did. I was going to ask them for some food, but they were sitting there. They were sitting there having their packed lunch. I just thought, sensational. They must have been looking over Fawnside Farm Cottage actually where they were sitting. So I did do the way and right. I'm blanking on the name again. I blanked last week. I'm blanking this week too. But yeah, so lovely. So I went the low path down the Vale, Glenridding, and then on the way back I went a bit higher to get Wainwright. Yeah, I really enjoyed it. Just bit naughty with the fuel and should have known better. Are
you listening to podcasts, music on that? Or are you just...
No, this was so I went on my own and I completely had no distractions too, because I don't on race day, I do run without any distractions, just something else, just another bit of noise, another bit of faff that I don't need. So yeah, it was good because sometimes, I think I've mentioned this loads of times after the first time I did Lakeland 100, I really need to lean on podcasts and music to get me through some runs. I just wasn't enjoying running. So to be able to do, I must have been out for 5 hours.
18 hours.
Maybe even 6 hours, I'm not too sure. Strava's funny because it has your pace, and then you go into the analysis and it has a different pace for the actual
moving time.
Moving time. So I'm not too sure exactly how long I was out, but yeah, a long time. Easy, super easy Friday, and a gym. So George and I did the gym on Friday. That was good. So I'm 2 gym sessions Friday. Not done my workout yet, though. Saturday, yeah, George and I went to the gym on Saturday. So George is actually loving the gym, and it's really nice. I've got some company there. See, I was going to do a workout on the treadmill. This is why I ended up being on Sunday. I was going to do a treadmill workout at the gym, which would have meant George being unattended in the gym for about 40 minutes, and I wasn't happy. That maybe I'm going to get tangled up in a machine or something. So I sacked off my workout and we just hit the weights together. And I really enjoyed it. Dean Loop with Rex, and that, where I live, 7 mile door to door in the nature is about 1,000 feet of vert. So it's quite runnable. And Rex is in heaven, no bikes, no cars, no horses. He's a rescue dog. So there's a lot of anxiety with Rex in certain situations, quite triggering for him. So yeah, apart from the little squirrels.
You and him are so similar.
Peas in a pod. Yeah, when he sees a squirrel, he gets a bit excited. But apart from that, it's just it's a little dream time for Rex down Castleton Dean. So the Midweek Lakes trip meant the workout was flipped, obviously, for a weekend workout as opposed to a long run. And it was going to be 6 times 800 with a 2 minute rest, but classically I made it 8 times 800. I just thought, well, it seemed a bit too light because the 4 of those 200s were downhill. So yeah, you're working your quads more than your energy system, I suppose.
Yeah,
you're running quite hard down. But then I thought, I was doing this and thinking, well, I've done big, say, Bob Graham round, the All County Tops, and then the run at the lakes or midweek. I'm not coming away from those runs with DOMs, so I probably don't really need this leg conditioning workout. So anyway, I did it 8 times 800. I think that's probably why I did the 8 instead of the 6. So it was a bit of a compromise. But yeah, like we said, it's not great having a workout hanging over me on a Sunday. But
I'm going to do the same this week, though. So we never learn because it's going to be
life, isn't it? Just the way it goes.
This is the only way it's going to fit in. So.
Well, yeah, I've got another lakes trip Friday. So unless I pull my finger out and do my workout today, which is Tuesday or Wednesday, it's going to be a Sunday.
Oh my God. The jeopardy. People will just be like hanging on the edge of their seats.
But it was good. First non-negotiable week. And I did everything. Every other day, I'm doing my mobility, and I got some new stuff that the physio gave me because of my neck and back, and that is slowly improving. It is a lot, but we did it.
It feels overwhelming, doesn't it? Especially when you add in like mobility. Like, where do I find the time to like do the rolling and the mobility?
Well, I spoke to Lisa about this. The whole mobility routine, then added on these new exercises that the physio has given me, I could easily be there for 40 minutes. Rolling. If I do say 2 or 3 minutes per body part, and then you do the exercise, it's like, my goodness. So there's so much work. I don't really record the mobility stuff, but if I did actually record the time, that may be about a quarter of the week's volume of stuff. So it's just another layer. Which it should be
as we get older as well. Do you know when I do mine? I do my mobility work as story time, because now the kids read themselves, obviously, thank God, just about. But they like to read to me.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. So they each get a book, and I take my roller and my ball upstairs, and I enjoy the carpet that's upstairs, and spend about 20, 30 minutes going, oh. And also, as we're doing this, Gary, I am rolling my feet as well. So tick that one off for the day.
Multitask.
I love the multitask. But yeah, if you've got kids that will actually read to you, I suppose you could read as you're foam rolling your IT bands, but there might be a bit of...
I like the foam roll watching the TV, but if Rex jumps up and goes for a cuddle, Rex always wins. I have to give full attention to the heaving bosom on the TV. But I'm still, have you tuned into Below Deck Thailand, yes?
Oh, he asked Bryn. I said, have we watched that? And he was like, yeah, we have. It's with the son. I was like, man.
Captain Lee. That's it.
It's Captain Lee. He was like, it's Captain Lee. Yeah. Love Captain Lee. Yeah, we've done it, Gary. Sad. We not got, I can't even tell you what we're watching now. It's so terrible. I will check if I'm allowed to share that, but we have found something else.
I'm watching. Luckily, I haven't cancelled any direct debits. I need to check all those. But yeah, the Disney direct debit is still active because the new Star Wars is out. Acolyte. Star Wars is quite a triggering universe.
Yes.
There'll be loads of people out there that will be like, oh my God, this is horrendous. Can't stand this. It's not the ethos of Star Wars.
Oh, Lord.
But I'm enjoying it. But we can't binge watch it. You know, normally Netflix and all these things, Disney, you just smash it all.
Yeah.
They're teasing us. 2 episodes currently uploaded to Disney. Total miles, including walking, 88 miles, 21 hours on my feet and doing other bits and bobs, 12,000 feet over it. Yeah.
Gary. Sensational.
Sensational. No brew with the coaches. We are going to get the gang back together and we have some questions too. But yeah, keep them coming. If you have a question for our awesome coaches, send them over to hello@teaandtrails.com.
This week, we chat with Keri Wallace, Girls on the Hills, co-founder, not only co-founder of an incredible company supporting women into getting into trail running, mountaineering, just being more familiar in perhaps an environment they're not used to, but also a really incredible runner herself, some incredible results to her name, and now soon to be a published author. We loved our chat with Keri. We hope you do too. This week, we are delighted to welcome Girls on Hills co-founder and now soon to be published author, Keri Wallace, to the podcast.
Hi.
Thanks for joining us, Keri. We ask all our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for, it doesn't have to be a run. It could be a rock climb. Not too sure where this is going to go, but yeah, what have you been up to today?
Yeah, no skiing recently, but so I'm in Glencoe in the Scottish Highlands, and that's where I live. And it's currently not even raining, which is,
get outside, cancel the podcast.
I know. I think my last run was yesterday and just up and over the hill out the back and just stretched the legs and got quite a big weekend of guiding coming up.
I love that. Got taper guiding.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Oh, I'd love a taper every week. That would be awesome. Not a local accent though, Keri. Yeah, which part of England are you from?
So I grew up in Cornwall, born and bred, and didn't move to Scotland until about 15 years ago. So I've been here a while now. But myself and my husband got 2 kids here. We sort of feel like we're English and the kids are Scottish, so we're not quite sure.
Do they have a Scottish accent?
I don't think they do have a Scottish accent, but my mum says they do. I can't hear it. So
mums are judgy, aren't they? My mum says my kids have a French accent, and I'm like, I can't.
Oh, well.
Well, I feel like I'm immune to the Scottish accent now as well. You know, like I don't hear it anymore. I definitely can't tell.
And why Scotland? Yeah, what took you? That is a big journey from south of England.
Yeah.
You don't even know those parts of it.
I've been down there once. Down there.
Up. Yeah. To me anyway. Yeah, I think I've been migrating up the coast. So I started off in Cornwall and then I met my husband in North Wales. I was working in North Wales, and then he had an opportunity for work up in the Scottish Highlands. I moved up here with him and ended up working in Oban for a number of years before moving to Glencoe. So yeah, I don't know, keep going up. Yeah, I know. This might be as far north as I get.
Glencoe though, it just seems like a runner's paradise. What's it like straight out the door, Keri? Loads and loads of routes?
Yeah, it is actually amazing. It's really great. So what I love about Glencoe is that the mountains literally just go straight up from the road. So it's really like immediately into the hills. There's like no run-in whatsoever. So it's lucky for me. I really like the sort of scrambly running and that kind of thing. So it's good for me. But in terms of like longer, flatter trails, there's like practically nothing. Trying to find like gradually undulating long trails is pretty hard around here, but if you're happy to do like big steep up and down, then it's great.
And could you, maybe some of our listeners are not aware of you, but could you tell us your journey into trail running? A few podiums, FKTs, and also being part of the UK Sky running team, Heavy Flex, straight in with Heavy Flex.
Yeah, so that kind of like, I started out with just a bit of like road running and trail running before I moved to Scotland. And then when I moved to Scotland, I really just sort of like tried my hand at fell running, I guess, and went straight in the deep end with a mountain marathon and was so woefully inept, basically, had practically missed the bus home and couldn't navigate and got horrendously lost. And anyone normal in that situation would be like, oh, this is maybe not for me. But I was just like, oh, I love this. I definitely need more of this in my life. And I also was a rock climber at the time. So I started to so after I moved here, I was doing a lot of rock climbing and a lot of fell running. Yeah, gradually over the years, that kind of sky running kind of came about sort of probably around 2015. It came to Glencoe with the Glencoe skyline. And that's where I first kind of came across that term. And I was like, oh, this is amazing. This is what I love. This is basically mixing up my two passions. So that's kind of how I ended up doing sky running, I suppose. And the whole UK sky running thing, I mean, that was just very much in its early days here in the UK. So I feel a little bit lucky to have sort of scraped in there while it was still so new a thing. But it's really grown momentum. And I think this year, again, it's going to be even bigger because we're seeing more and more energies behind the project. And I think many more races and championship races and series and things. So I think I hope to see it grow the way it is overseas,
How have you gone from missing the bus to being incredible? Because people will be listening, and I know lots of people go, there's a barrier in sky running, isn't there? That, if you're not used to it, it's not like a trail run. They are two separate sports, really, aren't they? How have you but people might be listening going, but I love that. But how have you managed? Was it a long process? Time in the hills, probably all of this?
Yeah, it has been a long process, but I definitely think as well, this is part of what I do for my work in terms of run. So I now work as a run guide with Girls on Hills, and part of what we are trying to do is show that it's actually not as hard as it looks. That's part of how that all came about. It really doesn't need to be as intimidating as it is. I think there's a lot around the marketing of sky running, and
Isn't
it's the same
it
as
just like Instagram? I'm like, you've just got the photographer at an angle that makes it look like they're perched on it, which looks brilliant, but nobody who is a little bit fearful of heights or climbing is going to go, sign me up.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. And, showing people with bloody knees and people sliding down really steep, gravelly slopes.
Chain, like that.
Chains. And, but I mean, it's the same with ultra running, isn't it? People just go I've struggled to train for this marathon, so I could never run an ultra marathon. You're like, I'm not sure that the two things, I don't think that's how it works. The fact that you can run a marathon, you can definitely run an ultra marathon. It's just, I think there's a lot of misconceptions around what's actually involved. Yeah, we sometimes take folk out, show them that there's a lot of walking involved, and get them to try their hands on the rock for the first time. And they're like, oh, actually, I'm not as bad at this as I thought I was. So it's more accessible than you think.
I do. I see those photographs and I think, I don't fancy that. That looks really, really scary. But then I'm visualizing, well, I've been to Scafell Pike. Where is that angle? Where have they taken that picture from? Because it looks like they're literally hanging on for dear life.
Yeah, so there's a lot of it's to do with the perception of the, as you say, where the camera's located and all the rest of it. I think the UK sky running stuff is quite different to some of the stuff that you see on the world circuit because, obviously we don't have the altitude. Sometimes in the UK, I think the races make up for that by being especially gnarly, especially sort of technical, to try and make up for the fact that that's, I feel like that's become a bit of a niche thing for the UK. For this year, there's loads of new feeder races that are going to be not technical and quite a bit shorter to try and sort of get more people in. Because I think that barrier that you mentioned, Eddie, is kind of, something that is preventing people from signing up to races. So hopefully they'll get that sorted.
Oh, I love that idea. That, Gary, we'll get you out on those little feeder races. 4 points of, where was it? You were 4 points of contact.
One of Great Gable, I think, which is not exactly sky running, but yeah, definitely 4 points of contact.
Keri, it sounds like you're incredibly busy. What does a typical week look like for you? It sounds like you've got a dream job as well. My dream job. She's shaking her head going, no.
Shaking my head. Yeah, the reality is probably really different, as you would expect. I'm not going to do the Insta thing and then tell you that it's all amazing. It's kind of, a massive juggling act. I'm got 2 kids, 7 and 9. And a lot of it is kind of fitting in work. So work at the laptop, the admin side of things of the business around their school day. We finish school here around 2:45. So it's it feels like
Stop
half
it.
a day.
Stop it. Why so early? What the hell?
What time do they start?
9. It's a juggle anyway. Try to fit training in and childcare and all their clubs and all the rest of it. So it is a massive juggle. Luckily for me, with the digital revolution, we've been able to do a lot from home. So chatting to you guys today and things like writing the guidebook and what have you, I can do that from the relative solitude of Glencoe. So that helps make things much easier for me, definitely.
What does your training look like at the moment? Are you training for anything? Oh, she's got a smile on her face.
Yeah, no, not really. I'm having a bit of a fallow year, if I'm honest.
Oh, no.
So I had big year last year, did the Sky Running series, and then I went out and raced UTMR in September. And then I came back from that and went straight into this kind of house. So I moved house, and both the kids got chicken pox, and then the guidebook was coming out. And so it just ended up just the way, life sometimes gets in the way. So to try and kind of keep sane, I entered the arc of attrition for January 2025. So that's my next big thing. Yeah, I've got something, but it's quite far out.
Yes,
still.
It's far enough that you can just put it another week.
Totally. Yeah. And I'm taking a big family holiday this year. So we're going to go for a month with the family in living out of the van. So we're going on a van road trip into the mountains. So heading out to the Alps.
To the Alps. Oh,
yeah.
Sounds like a dream.
Have you got a route planned?
No, we don't have a route plan. My husband knows it all pretty well. So we're going to go to some places he knows and then sort of expand out from there. We're going to do some climbing and some mountaineering stuff with the kids. And so that has been a bit of it's right in the middle of the summer. In terms of training, I just thought, ease off for this summer and then get back on it towards the autumn. So that's the plan.
I think that is every busy mum and dad's, especially a working mum's UTMB and all those big amazing races that we all like to do at the end of August. No mother has ever organised that race.
I know, right? So for me, as soon as the kids break up, which is the 1st of July here in Scotland.
At 2:45.
At 2:45, 6 weeks is just completely out the whole middle of the summer.
The thought of a 3-hour run, you're this is just I cannot, how would I find that time?
No, you basically have to pay for childcare to go for a run. And then as you're running along, you're this is costing me 40 quid.
I will enjoy this. I must run faster. I can't take this gel because that's £3.
Have you got a big van though, Keri? That's a lot of people.
My husband has kitted out himself by hand. He's done an amazing job. But we are like sardines, these 4 bunks slotted in there. We may kill each other, if I'm honest.
I think 7 and 9 are such great ages to do that sort of thing as well, because if they're like my kids, a couple of years older, but they're still everything is going even in a travel lodge, they're this is incredible. The buffet breakfast and
absolutely.
everything is
we're very much there.
Yeah, they're just not quite on that oh God, mom, not I'm on the cusp. I won't, Gary's in the trenches with the teenagers now. But, so I think that's a great when they're still keen for a family holiday, because I know it will come when they're no thanks, I'm actually going with my friends to Ibiza.
Have you done the Arc of Attrition before?
No, I haven't. As I said, I'm from Cornwall originally, and I kind of had it on my to-do list for a long time. So I was kind of going to do it anyway. And then obviously it became a UTMB race this year. And I thought, you're going to have, enough points for entry, almost more by luck than judgment. Because I did the UTMR last year, I had loads of points. So I was oh, awesome. So I just thought I better get in there and get on with it. So I put in my entry. And now I know I've got something to, target in the future.
Tell us a little bit about Girls on Hills. We've mentioned it quite a few times on the podcast. We've talked about various things. I know we've talked about, occasionally mentioned courses you've got coming up and things like that, but we've never actually touched base with a real life founder before. Can you tell us where the idea came from and where it's sort of developed into now today? Yeah,
so the idea kind of came out a bit around becoming a mum, really a working mum. So at the time I wasn't working in the outdoor industry at all. So my background's actually in science. I was working in a science research institute down the road in Oban. And I'd been there for quite a long time, became a mum and was on maternity leave. And then when I went back to work, I actually found that quite hard because I was commuting down the road. My kids were in childcare. My husband was away a lot abroad for work. And the juggle just became it squeezed out all running. And initially I could fit in a 5K, kind of some lunch breaks. And after a while, I just went, oh, I actually can't live like this. This is just not going to work. I ended up like just chatting. So Nancy, the other co-founder at Girls on Hills, she's a friend who I met through running. She lives locally. She's lived here a long time in Glencoe, and we knew each other through running. As I say, we were just literally chatting out the window, and I said something to her. She was passing in the street like, oh, we should just start a running business. And she was like, oh, I'm up for that. And I was like, yeah, well, I'm not joking. She was like, well, I'm not joking. I was like, well, should we just do that then? And it literally came from nowhere. But the idea, I suppose, was a little bit of a side hustle that enabled me to do something that brought me back into the mix, being able to do the things I loved. And it was obviously had to be tiny because we were busy. I was busy being a new mum. So it was just 2 weekends in the first year, like next to nothing. And the idea was just like, let's just get more women out in the hills, fell running and like trail running, because people were always saying to us, oh, I know, I wish I could do what you do. It's amazing.
I get that all the time at school.
Yeah,
and they're like,
do that.
Where did you go? And I was like, oh, I just stopped there. And they're like, oh, we never do that. And I'm like, it's just got the path. Like, it's fine.
It's not as hard as it looks, but people go, oh, I can barely walk in the hills, let alone run. And you're like,
well, there's not much running.
I walk too. So that's fine. But, it was that sort of thing I mentioned, that kind of misconceptions around it. So that's how it started. But then after we set it up, it kind of just gained momentum and it grew to a point where eventually I just thought, I wonder if I could do this as my job. And eventually I just made the leap, which financially was quite terrifying, and just left it. And now I've basically juggled Girls on Hills and the kids and left the desk job behind.
If people have never heard of Girls on Hills, what sort of, I don't like to use the term services, but what sort of things do you offer? What's the business become now?
So it started out with just guided trail running, and then it became apparent that there was a bit of a need for navigation courses. So that was kind of around the fact that lots of women have kind of low confidence around navigation, or they've literally just never tried it and basically assume that they're not going to be any good at it, which of course is foundless. So they kind of like come along and go like, oh, okay, actually, it's not that complicated, and it's, I'm actually fine at it. So the navigation thing actually became quite a big part of it. So then that led on to kind of mountain safety. So we do some hill walking courses, and then the trail running became a mixture of kind of mountain running or fell running, depending what you want to call it, and sky running more recently. And so it's mostly weekends, because obviously we're in quite a remote location. So people tend not to it's not going to be like an afternoon. It's going to be a trip.
A thing,
A thing. So people come up for 2 days usually, and it's either like, a guided trail running adventure, or a mountain running day, or a recce of a race, or, an introduction to sky running or something like that. And I guess what we do now is pretty broad. I mean, at the moment we've got like 2 or 3 events on nearly every weekend, ranging from like introductory skills courses to like running retreats. I call them retreats, but there's basically absolutely nothing luxury about it. There's like no spas or Prosecco or anything like that. It's just like mud and like hostels. So it's very much a different sort of...
As long as there's tea, that's a retreat for me.
I was going to say, the retreat aspect comes from the idea of just being like,
no children.
Yeah, basically. That's pretty much it in a nutshell. Escape your life, go into the middle of nowhere, the Scottish Highlands. A lot of the accommodation we stay at is like off grid, so it's like full on off grid. So yeah, it's the journey. Sharing a journey with like-minded people, meeting other people who are kind of interested in the same stuff as you. And
is there a team though? That's a lot for just you and Nancy.
Yeah, so we started out with us doing quite a lot of the guiding, and then it became obviously unmanageable. So we now have a third person on the books with us, who is our operations manager, Hannah. And then beyond that, we've got kind of a core team of guides who are like local inner circle, if you like, and they do the majority of our guiding work. And then beyond that, we try to use other local, mountain leaders. It's actually kind of a bit of a tricky one, because we're trying to use qualified mountain leaders, but they also obviously want to be runners and be interested in running themselves. There's not loads and loads of people. So, and it's still
women.
I was going to say, it's still a very male-dominated industry, actually. So being able to give work to the female mountain leaders and instructors in the area is, part of what we do, I guess. It's kind of growing list.
And I can imagine it's growing, weekly, daily as trail running, as sky running becomes more popular, as women are, like, as you said, that we're allowed now to go, we don't really want to go to a spa. We actually want to go and do something something for us and be active. It must be like growing legs that you perhaps thought that it never, well, it's gone bigger than the out the window conversation of, should we?
Yeah, totally. I mean, people always ask me, like, where do you see it going, or where did you see it going? And I guess I probably didn't really look ahead like that. I was just kind of living in the moment. And so I still don't really know where it's going. We just go every year, we just go a slightly different way, wherever it feels right or what we're interested in doing. And I have to laugh. A lot of the things that the courses or events that we put up are just things that we really want to do.
No, I love that. It's the same with the podcast, Keri. This is very parallel. That we started this and it's slowly got bigger than ever we thought that it would be. And then, opportunities come, and then you can see room for growth. And then also, I think probably the same with us. You see how much probably you've had like incredible moments with Women on the Hill and feedback from courses, and you've changed thousands of women's lives. And so it must be so rewarding as well.
Yeah, it is really rewarding. And it was quite surprising, like when we first started out, one of the things we realized really quickly was that, you can't generalize about any type of women that might come on our events or courses, because it's open to everyone. But actually we were seeing a lot of people who were like seeking out specifically those women specific spaces, maybe for a reason, like they might be mental health issues. They might have lost a partner. They might be, at a crossroad in their life. I mean, we've had people who have been told that they'll never walk again, and here they are running, or that they haven't left the house for 3 months, but they've managed to get out and come on a course, or, and also surprisingly, like emails from people like never actually driven on my own before, or stayed in a hotel by myself. Are there other people on the courses who I could maybe link up with? So we've started to create a WhatsApp group for every event that we do, where we're part of it, and so they can all ask questions and share their anxieties around what to bring and things like that. And the instructors can sort of chip in if the people got questions. And then during the event, we all share our photos and banter and everything else. And then afterwards, we kind of opt out and leave them with that group, and they've actually then got a little social group, a new group of friends that can sort of endure a little bit. And it's really nice to hear from people that they've kept in touch with folk, and they've gone on to meet up or race or something together or whatever, allowing other people to sort of share their experiences. And we were like, actually, this is bringing more to people than just running. I guess that's kind of what I'm getting to say, and we started thinking that was the value, in a way, of them being women-specific sort of groups, is that it's an environment where people feel comfortable speaking out about their own circumstances or what they've been through. And, topics of conversation will quite often be,
inappropriate.
Yeah, well, it's not for everyone. So it is a bit of a specific type of environment. So we try to be as open as possible about that. And some people want that and some people don't want that. And that's absolutely, in my view, as it should be, because everyone's different, right? So as long as there's options on the table, and some people enjoy that, seemingly, because the courses keep filling up. So. Yeah.
That's wonderful. Creating a community. I think that's absolutely sensational. If people want to reach out and connect with Girls on Hills, what's the best way? Would they Google Girls on Hills? Would they find you that way?
Yeah, so we're just girlsonhills.com, the website. So just email us or find us on social media. We're on Instagram and Facebook. We're not on Twitter yet. I'm too terrified.
Oh no, I don't understand any of that.
Yeah.
So let's move on, because I could ask you so many. We should have done 2 podcasts. This is but we want to talk about this incredible book, Running Challenges, 100 of the best runs in England, Scotland and Wales. We've both been very lucky to get not on a real life copy, but on a PDF copy. I'm not going to ask the questions I've got planned to ask the book. I just want to know how on earth you found time to do this, because now, having talked to you, I'm like, it is a beautiful book of really detailed routes. I mean, the work that has gone into this book. Where did the idea come from, and then where did you?
Well, I think that the answer to how do you find time for it is basically that we actually started it before COVID, right? And then COVID got in the way, and it all got delayed and delayed and delayed. Yeah. So it was meant to actually be out a long time ago, and we've kind of changed the format a bit and the focus a bit over the years. And so it's actually been a really lengthy project.
Oh, I like that. Just a lot of thought.
So it's nice that it's finally kind of coming together. In terms of the inspiration, I guess I'm not somebody who, maybe it's partly where I live, maybe it's partly my nature, but I do race, but I don't do loads and loads of races all the time. That's not really my bag. So I do a lot for myself, or if you like, running on my own. And I really like to have a challenge or a goal in mind for that. I think I've sort of fell in love with the idea of like doing the big rounds. When I moved up to Scotland, I found out about the Ramsey round and the Bob Graham round and the Paddy Buckley round. And for me, that's where it kind of all started, because the very long version is that I basically got a knee injury, which was preventing me from properly racing. And it went on for about 5 years, and I basically lost my marbles over it, and eventually kind of decided, you know what, I'm just going to set myself a challenge that's going to be a walking challenge. But if I'm going to walk it, it's going to have to be really far. So I'm just going to walk like all three of those back to back on my own, and that's going to be my challenge. And I set it up for myself to do the UK Big Three Challenge, I called it, and I was raising money for charity. So I was raising money for the John Muir Trust and WaterAid, and I set out to do that. But as I was training for it, I actually got stronger, and my knee kind of recovered basically through doing so much hill walking, without actually really doing any running. It got better. Eventually, when it came to happen, I could actually run. But by then the schedule was quite relaxed because it was for walking, but it didn't really matter. It just ended up being a really cool journey, and it was a multi-day thing. I just did it on my own. So much investment went into it in terms of time and energy and the concept and the training and all the rest of it, that I just really enjoyed that process. And so I guess I have always been really focused around, like, maybe I'll do a race in the year or a couple of races, but I'll also probably have one or two sort of personal running challenges that are more for me, that I wonder if I can try something new or something that I think might be a bit beyond me. And it's a format that I just really enjoy. So that's probably what led me into kind of reading about and learning about different running challenges.
I think perhaps COVID, you're the only person that can say to that COVID was a bit of a blessing, because I think people came out of COVID going, I don't need to do races. I actually really enjoy finding new routes, different challenges, and just going off and doing them. So many women that I coach are like, I prefer to go off, be on my own schedule, and do this in my own time. And I almost feel a more sense of achievement having planned it all, done all the logistics, got myself there.
I think FKTs, they just exploded, didn't they, during COVID?
They did, a massive around that time. And things were just like, new rounds were coming out, and the FKTs were just like falling by the wayside. You know, people were getting out doing, you know, stuff in their local areas mostly because we couldn't travel.
I do feel a bit sorry for race RDs, because I came out of COVID thinking, I do race again, but it took me quite a while before I wanted to really scratch that itch of doing a race again. Is there a comparison? If somebody's listening and they're thinking, what is it, trying to visualize this book? Is it like a Wainwright's Guide, Lonely Planet? What would they expect?
No, I had the idea that it would be like an inspiration guide, if you like, because when I first started writing about so in the introduction, I talk a bit about what is a running challenge. And it seems to me that, like, see if you had a guidebook that told you like where to go and gave you a GPX file, and then gave you all the instructions of what to carry and what to pack and where to get your support and all the rest of it. If it detailed all that, would it even be a challenge anymore, right?
Yeah.
Because it's just a how-to guide then.
And also you'd have so many messages from middle-aged men going, oh, by the way, that...
it's not right. So, and just what you said there, Eddie, about the fact that, you know, the process of like researching it and planning it and investigating, you know, how you might do it best or when and how, you know, all that stuff is, the more you put into it, the more you personally get back out of it.
I hear you know, there. Yeah.
That seems to me then, there's no point writing a guidebook that just gives away all the answers, right? So the whole point then became, instead of like a blow-by-blow description of where to go, it's kind of like, this is a cool idea. This is why it's a cool idea. This is a different cool idea. This is why this is a cool idea. And it's kind of like giving people examples of different types of run challenges, right through from like, just like a Tralee Park run, up to like big bucket list challenges that I know I'll never, ever manage to do. So hopefully there's something for everyone, but it doesn't really tell you how to do it. It doesn't even really give a route description, because I think you need to go find that for yourself. You know, that's part of it. Find out the history of it, how it was established, who did it last, who did it fastest, you know, what's the ethos of it, what are the kind of like ethics around it, if there are any. Yeah, how do you want to do yours? And I guess it's an invitation as well to people to invent their own. So I've done a few, like, planned a few rounds of my own, or made up a few things locally around COVID and what have you. And those are some of the best, where you've invented them and planned them and plotted them out, and then you go try and actually do it. And
then you're
really
like, why the hell did I do? I've done many of those with friends when we've been like, yeah, we'll run to there, and then we're like, this is awful. Who planned it?
There is that trail etiquette, isn't there? You could be self-supported, you could do it as an adventure with mates, or completely solo. I think my memory of the Bob Graham round, it really was this collection of friends coming together to help me and a friend have a successful day. But you make a good point though. I remember Lonely Planet Guide, following that when I was backpacking, and really,
do you remember all the detail that goes into those?
Well, I'd visualized this 5-star restaurant cafe in Thailand, and it wasn't there anymore, and I was like, oh my goodness me.
Well, that's it as well. It does change. Some of these things do change as well, and I think that even just giving the route away, like, for some things is, maybe that's part of it, which lines you take. Like, there are definitely fast lines and slow lines in some of these mountain challenges. So it's like, you're just going to give the answers away, and maybe it's different for different people as well. Like, people have got different strengths and weaknesses.
You say that in the book a lot. You're like, how do I define, like, hard? It's hard a hard mountain to me is different to a hard mountain to somebody else, and you're quite clear about that you give the idea is sown, here it is, but you take it as you find it. It's probably a lot of ethos on for your Girls on Hills as well, that everybody's so different, and so it's a nugget to start.
It is, and people want different things from a challenge as well. Like, some people might be doing it because they want to set an FKT. Other people might just be wanting, like, a holiday or to explore a new area. Somebody might be doing it in memory of somebody, or they might be doing it because, it's got to be done in under 24 hours, or maybe they just want to cross some sort of geographical boundary on their feet, or like fundraising. There's so many reasons that people have for doing different challenges that you can't just say, well, this is the right type of thing for your level of fitness or ability, because you might be wanting, I think, for example, like, if you want to have like an epic, right, then you want to go out there with almost like minimal planning and just go out there with your kit and wing it, right? But if you want to do it like a fast time, or do a great performance, then you might want to recce it and practice the lines and train with your kit, and you might go out with, work on the navigation, or, but if you have more unknown in there, it's inevitably going to be slower and harder work, and there's going to be obstacles along the way, but maybe for some people that's part of it, and, so on. So
were you always going to put 100 of the best runs? How did you come up with the best runs?
So the 100 thing kind of came a bit from the publisher, because they
were like, this is we can't call it 64 42.
Exactly. No, so that was a bit of a steer from them. At the end of the day, the number of great runs out there is so limitless, even if you're just looking at the UK. But I think what I tried to do with the book is I haven't gone for convenience. Let's just put it that way.
No, because some of them I'm like, how do you even get there?
How do you even get there? Yeah. And part of me was like, it should really be circular, because that will make the logistics easier. And it really should be somewhere that's like close to places that people live. And it should be like, and then after a while I thought, do you know what? I can't be bothered with any of that, because to me, some of the best runs are like through runs, because you get like a brilliant journeying experience. And it feels great to just feel like you've traveled further because you haven't come back on yourself. And then obviously if you're, want to run further, you can link multiple stages, or you can, so with a lot of the national trails, for example, or the longer distance routes, I've maybe just taken a short section and said, this is a cool section. But if you want to, you could do all the sections in one, or you could do 2 or 3, or you could do 1 a month, or however you want to do it. But this is a cool section. And it's logistically an absolute nightmare, because it takes you to places that, and again, I haven't tried to tell people how to do it. I mean, there is a bit of information about buses and transportation and, in the area, what's available. But working out how you're going to get to the start and how you're going to get from the finish back to the start and things, that's all part of it. Maybe somebody will cycle back or run a different way back, or they'll get the bus out and run back. And, living here in Scotland has kind of given me that inspiration, because we quite often will catch the train somewhere and run back, or catch a boat over and then run through somewhere and end up at a train station or a car park. And like, just the nature of the terrain here lends itself to that kind of thing. I love the idea of just getting a bus somewhere somewhere and then running back from.
I don't like getting a bus somewhere though, because all the way on the bus journey, I'm thinking,
I know, it feels so far.
God,
it?
It's so far. I like finishing and then on the bus stinking with like an old granny going, ooh, yeah.
Have you run them all, Keri? Have you run all 100?
No, not at all. So I've run a good bunch of them. I actually don't know how many of them I've run. Now you mentioned that, I'll have to go and have a count. But I think I put in all the ones that I've done that I really love. So some of my favourites definitely in there. And then as a big chunk of things of challenges that I would love to do, and definitely some that I would aspire to do, but probably never be able to do, because there's some really big ones in there as well. Yeah. And just some that through research, that I've come across and been like, I find that really interesting for a particular reason, or really exciting, or an area that I know quite well but haven't actually done a challenge in. So it's a whole bunch of, different kind of relationships between me and those challenges, I suppose.
Who was judge and jury? Was there a committee, or is it all down to you?
I was judge and jury, basically. So given me pretty much full freedom on there. Yeah. And there was like a bit of debate around some of them. So I remember that I initially put the Coolin Ridge in the book. Obviously, there's an FKT for that, and there has been for some time now, and it's come down and down, both in summer and in winter. But I'm obviously very painfully aware that it's not a run for most people, and it does involve a lot of technical climbing. So, you also have to be aware of like the risks involved and what you're actually advocating as being a good idea. So in the end, that's one that we did take out, even though it's one that I really love. And I think it's obviously very spectacular and standalone in its own right. It's clearly more of a mountaineering journey than,
This could be the next book, though. That tricky second book, Mountain Challenges. 100 of the best sort of runs, but be careful.
Yeah, don't tell anyone I told you to do this.
Don't put your author by anonymous.
Yeah, exactly that.
Why do you think, I always wrestle with this, why do you think we need to do hard things as a human race? I
think that basically nothing good ever came easy, right? So I think if everything's too comfortable and too secure, and then we don't grow. I think that's where the growth comes in, and that might be in terms of fitness and strength and ability, or it might just be psychologically, or in terms of well-being, or like even socially, and for some people in their careers. Like I think if you don't push at those boundaries, you don't change and you don't grow. So things just become stale or boring, or nothing moves on. So I think that in a way we live now in such a kind of comfortable existence, don't we? That it wouldn't have. If you go back far enough, people didn't do challenges like this in the outdoors because life was hard.
In Bridgerton, they're never doing challenges like this.
The idea that you would go up a mountain for leisure seems like, it would have been a pretty weird thing to do. And then, with money and leisure time came these hobbies. And now I feel really like we're seeking them out to try and almost getting a little bit in touch with that part of ourselves that needs a little bit of hardship, that needs to be stretched, because that part of our human nature, if you like, isn't serviced by our very comfortable existence. Yeah, I think you learn a lot about yourself. I mean, you obviously will both know this, you learn loads about yourself and what matters to you and what your strengths and weaknesses are just by really pushing up against your own limits, I think.
I think it's all about your values as well, and your integrity as a person, like out in the mountains, out in the hills, out on, there's nothing, you're cut down to nothing, aren't you? It's just like you, the terrain, perhaps the people you're with. And it really, like, you don't get that anywhere else, that pure, no. It's a bit like the chat that goes on when you're out running with a group of girlfriends or boyfriends that you're like, we would never talk about this on but it just takes you back to, which, as you said, like in your day-to-day life, we miss that. Maybe we never had it in the past, but it's certainly something like on the mountains, you really find out like who you are, who your friends are when push comes to shove and someone's hanging off a ledge and you're all taking photos.
Well, I mean, it pushes friendships to, can push friendships to the limit as well. And then the value of their support as well, like what that means to you. Like, I mean, Gary, you mentioned about doing a supported Bob Graham round there. And it's interesting because I've always been like, I wanted to do this thing solo. And then when I have used support, I've just been like, wow, that's amazing. It's really different how much I've gotten from that by having friends and shared that experience with other people. So, it's just so much of it is to do with sharing those spaces as well with others.
I love it. You mentioned in the book, there's the All County Tops, and obviously that's a team
I
event.
knew you'd love that, Gary. You'd be like, oh no, keep it a secret.
Well, I'm sure Robbo and I have hated each other and loved each other in equal measures around that course over the past 3 or 4 years. And sometimes I think sometimes it is just because I'm blanking on the guy's name, but one of the people who summited Everest, he just said because it's there. That's why I'm going to do it.
No, exactly. And I think we all need to do that at some point. For lots of people, it won't be in running specifically, but, I think we, as runners, often will look to races to challenge ourselves, won't we? And that's why people do enter them to sometimes to push their time or to get their PB down or whatever, or just to complete a particular course. But I know from my own experience, like after a while, like maybe my PB stops moving and I sort of, stagnate there for a bit. And I'm like,
or you just don't have the time that you had 10, 15 years ago. And so by chasing something that, if you did, is like, that's not giving me back what I want right now. That's not what I want right now. The effort that's going to go into the PB, the effort that I prefer to spend my time, without that pressure, but still want to be outside. Yeah,
absolutely. And so, and as well, I think it depends what stage of life you're in, what your limitations are. Like, so for me, my big limitation is time and freedom, because, I'm often single parenting effectively because my husband works abroad about a third of the year. So I'll be with the kids and I'll be like, well, I can't actually go anywhere. Because they're in school, or I've got the
2:45. You've only just got home.
From 2:45, so it's really difficult to get to races. So last year I did the skyrunning series, the UK skyrunning series, and I was like, well, how many races do you need to do to complete the series? Minimum of 3. So I'm like, well, I'm going to do 3. Right? I'm definitely never going to be that person that does all of them and then just sees which is their best times. Like, I'm just going to put down 3 times. That's going to be me, because I find that quite, restrictive. Being able to get out for me, like within school hours in my local area, and still use challenges as a way of like reinventing the wheel and finding new and exciting things to do without having to travel miles and miles is, it's great.
Where can people find the book? When does it come out? Are you going on a big book tour?
No, I'm not going on a big book tour. I'm getting in my van and hiding away in the Alps with my children.
throwing it out the window as you pass families.
Exactly. Yeah, it comes out. The publication day is technically, I think, 18th of July, but it's already gone to the printers, so it could be back.
Have you got a copy?
No, not yet. But I'm hoping
what a day.
That'll be very cool, very cool. So yeah, but then it's already open for pre-order, so you can pre-order it with Vertebrate just now, and then if you do pre-order it, as opposed to buying it in the shop, you get entered into their big prize draw, which is like a £300 bundle of kit from Innovate. So
Gary's there.
And then it'll be, I guess, in the shops after that and online. So
is there a local bookshop in Glencoe where you can go and move it to the
There's a bookshop as part of our local cafe, which is Crafts and Things, so we'll have it in there. And at some point I'm going to do a little bit of a mini launch later in August, later in the summer, at the Highland Bookshop, which is in Fort William, another independent bookshop local to me. So
I can't wait. I'm looking forward to getting a copy. I almost look at it like a travel guide, so from away, a different part of the country. It could
what could be good to do.
Like I go to the lakes so often, and I've never done the Windlatter Park Run, and I looked at the PB for that, and it's like just below 20 minutes, and that just shows you how tough, if you're going to race that park run, how tough that is. Wow. Yeah,
absolutely.
Did you think you could have it, Gary? Are you like, I'm going to go and take it?
No, I'll be happy with this. So anything under sub 20, I'll be happy. So that just shows how that would be flat as a pancake course. And I just can't imagine. I've been a Windlatter with the family, but to do a park run around there, it'll be absolutely insane. So any plans for 2024, 25? Another book?
There is another book coming out, but it's not related to this one. So it's more of a location guide around Ben Nevis. So a little bit of information about how to enjoy the area instead of always just going up Ben Nevis. So hopefully that'll be a little bit more inspiration for people in this area. And so I don't know the timeline on that one. But other than that, no, I think it's a bit of family time for me this summer, and then building up over the autumn and through the winter to do the arc of attrition, which will be really cool because they talk about challenging yourself. It's like totally not my kind of race. Not expecting great things. I'm definitely aiming to try and finish. That's the aim of the game.
Are they going to make the cut-offs? I think, is the cut-off 30 hours? I'm not sure what the cut-off
Do you know what?
is.
I'm really guilty of having not looked at the cut-offs because I'm just going to go there. I always feel when I'm racing that like, it always amazes me that people can be like, oh, there's a cut-off, so I'm just going to go a bit faster.
36 hours. At the moment, it's 36 hours. I just wondered if they're going to make it longer because they're going to open up to more people. And
people, wider range of ability. Or I don't know. I guess I hadn't looked at the cut-off because I just thought I'll go there and do what I can do.
I never like people to look at cut-offs. I'm like, you keep running until somebody tells you if you're worried about them.
That's what I was thinking. Like, if it's not enough, then it's not enough. It's not going to be through any lack of trying. So,
no, exactly.
What's the point? So, I haven't even really looked into...
Does it go past your sort of home?
No, it doesn't. But it's actually on the other coast. But I think that it's close enough that my parents can look after the children. And it's also just nice to be in my home county and see a bit of the coast that I haven't actually been really along. I've been to a few places along there, but I don't know that coast well. So I think to go to such a kind of iconic race in my home county would be a really cool thing to do. And I mean, there's not even one mountain on it, so I don't know. I mean, I'm assuming
it's actually there's a lot of vert on it.
Huge
the
amount
biggest
of
climb is about 300 feet, I think. Like it is just relentless.
I know. So I do run on the coastal path quite a bit when I visit my family, but it's just a different stretch of the coastal path, and I'm always amazed by how much vert is clocked up, and it's just like mind-blowing.
Yeah, you're going to have to change your training.
If you look at the profile, literally, it's just
you're just going to have to start little hills and turn around and be like, oh my God, yeah.
Are there little coves or little steps in and out of little fishing coves?
Yeah, like super steep, really steep. So I don't know what training for that will look like, something to look forward to. But, this is kind of the point of the book, isn't it? Try something that something different. So
try a nice low-key race where there's not many people, not too hard.
I don't care how I go, other than I think it will be a cool experience. And I mean, I've never done any of the UTMB races, and that wasn't the reason why I picked it, but that'll be an experience in itself for me. So, yeah.
Best of luck. I've got one question, though, before we go into the quick five. What is proprioceptive plasticity? Keri?
Right, so that's the subject of my PhD. So this is what I kind of did for my research.
Where have you got that from, Gary? Gary is like the most incredible researcher.
Background. Yeah, so your proprioception is like your sixth sense. It's the ability to know where your body parts are in space relative to themselves. So a kind of like sense of awareness of body position or location, and the movement of your body. So those are the little receptors that we have in our joints and muscles and tendons and things, and very much part of the way we interact with trail and the landscape around us when we're running. Plasticity is how that is basically learning. It's basically the changes that happen at a neural level to allow us to adapt and improve and change in response to our environment over time.
I'm underperforming. I'm always tripping over rocks. I need to.
I was just thinking my friends' ankles always give way. And
so ankles is a big one. So I do actually do an online session called at Stronger Ankles. And it's just like about how you can do proprioceptive training. Like anything else, if you train it, obviously it's based on neural networks in your body that will adapt over time and get better, so more efficient.
It's like after winter when I've been running on snow.
Yeah, suddenly you can't do it anymore.
Go back on that. I've like a tiny little technical trail that leaves me home, and when the snow goes, I'm like, I like stand there looking down it, going, no, I can't.
No, it's so true. If you spend the winter in boots and then go back into trail shoes in the summer, you're just like, my ankles, they've lost a lot of strength and a lot of stability.
The kids, when they spend 6 months in their ski boots and then they come out of it and they're like Bambi.
Yeah, exactly.
Every winter I go, you need to do your calf raises, you need to get on the Bosu ball, and they're like, don't listen to me. Go, we'll be fine, Mum. And then they break and go over on their ankle.
Yeah, that's it. Exactly that.
Quick five time. Okie dokie. 100 running challenges in the book. If you could only do one, which one would it be?
You knew you were going to be asked this, surely.
I know.
Been waiting
I've been struggling because there's so many good ones to do. I think I'm tempted to say something like something in North Wales, because I haven't done as much there. For years I've wanted to do the Dragon's Back race, and that kind of hasn't
that's
come
in
together.
Yes, Nick, so, obviously terrible time of year, but
so it's kind of like a thing on my bucket list. And so I've often wondered whether, doing the Cambrian way as a kind of, we've talked about doing your own personal challenges, like a multi-day sort of journey, like a fast packing thing, maybe, as opposed to doing like the race, or maybe one day the race. But that the kind of idea of running the sort of spine of Wales would be immense. Yeah.
What about you, Eddie? Anything you'd fancy?
The Le Jog. John O'Groats. I would like to make an FKT of the National Trail Network.
Yes.
Having done it with Dan on the A9, I have no interest in running next to those lorries. I did it for 30 miles and that was horrendous. But I would like to set up. I know that Run Britannia do they've linked it all together, and they do it like over, I think it's about 5-6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to do it self-supported.
Yeah.
But I don't think I'll be able to do it until the kids are like left home, so I'm not sure I'm going to have knees left.
Signature dish time. Eddie and I banging on your door. We are famished, Keri.
We've been skiing in Glencoe on the one day of snow. Gary's learnt how to snowplow.
Yeah. Eddie's a veggie though. So what are you going to rustle us up?
We're talking hill snacks here.
Oh, anything you like. We are.
Eddie, what did you throw me under a bus? You were really judgy on my signature dish. Pesto pasta. You weren't impressed with that.
I think my signature dish is really a bit boring, but I really like to make a chili with dark chocolate in it.
I like it.
Oh, hello. I'd sign up.
I'm all
for
over that. Yeah.
Chili with a bit of dark chocolate in it.
We'll grab your address after the podcast. We're there for tea.
Tea protocol. Now I go for a tea bag. Lisa's going to listen to this and just basically call me out big time. But in an ideal world, I'll go for tea bag, hot water, leave it 4 minutes, and then I'll pop the milk in.
4 minutes? How much time do you have in your life to leave your tea about? Yeah. I often drink mine with the tea bag still in. There's no time.
It's like 15 things on the tick list that you could get done in that 4 minutes.
Well, sometimes, I do go away and then I'll forget, then that 4 minutes can quite
That's my dream. Also, I love it if I've left the tea bag and I forget, and then I come back and go, oh, I've got a cup of tea, and it's so strong it's going to take my head off.
But my dad sometimes, I remember my dad's house, I'd see the milk and the tea bag in the cup before the hot water. Is that a no-no?
Yeah, mine's far more like kind of representative, really, I think, of my personality type. It's like tea bag, pour in the milk, mash the tea bag loads of times. So it's really really fast.
Get your money's worth.
Almost, just like sometimes I split the bag. That's a bit of a drawback. All over again. Mash the tea bag, no real proper brewing, and then quite a lot of milk. I have it quite milky. I still haven't graduated from the kiddie tea, and then forget all about it so that it goes cold and put it in the microwave about 6 times through the day.
Yeah,
that's my classic way of making tea.
I've done that quite a few times. Okay, you can't be running. How would you pass your time on a day off?
I still love the beach. I'm definitely I grew up by the sea, and I still obviously live by the sea, but my sea here is really different. It's in the mountains, and it's it's different. So I still like big white beaches. So I'm lucky here on the west coast of Scotland because I can still find those. So I like to go drive out the west and find some of these big white sandy beaches. And if I was to go on holiday and it wasn't running, it would be a beach holiday, definitely.
Something about the sand. Sand is isn't it?
Was it the Thai Tourist Board used a Scottish beach in their advertising literature once?
Well, imagine, because they do look so tropical. If the sun's out, it could basically be like the Caribbean or somewhere. But the reality is that you're sitting there. I mean, I've got photos of me and the kids on the beach, and I'm like, it's still beach weather, right? And we're literally in hat and gloves, full waterproof.
And they've insisted on swimming, even though you've gone, it's freezing, and you're going to be freezing, and you're going to stay in for 2 seconds. They're like,
and your teeth hurt because you're so cold.
I thought the North Sea was cold, but you're quite a few miles further north of me. Instagram story, music time, Keri. Every week we share the podcast over on Instagram, and you get to choose the music that we put in the Instagram story. What's it going to be?
Something from the Kooks.
Oh, yeah. I like the Kooks.
Gary will be all over that.
I like the Kooks. I don't know if I could name a song right now, but I'll let you choose one. But I like the Kooks.
I'll sort you out.
Something up.
Oh, no, he's not. Something with a bit of... They're a bit like that, aren't they?
Yeah.
Last time I listened to the Kooks, it's got to be, wow, over 10 years ago.
Yeah, I know. I'm living in the past.
So there's no good music now. They were saying that on the radio only this morning, that all the good music is from we were very lucky, I think, our generation.
I know, totally. I was realising recently that like all my friends are still listening to the same sort of music. Because I actually listen to quite a lot of contemporary music, but I don't particularly enjoy it. I just listen to it because it's there. And my kids listen to it as well. I realised that a lot of my friends are still listening to the music that I grew up with, which was mostly grunge music and that kind of thing. And I thought, God, I should really just go back and do that. And you do, and it transports you back in time. It's the weirdest thing.
Oh, my husband and I stand in the kitchen going back with the music, going, do you remember when we used to listen to this song? We're like...
Yeah, so for me, the Kooks is later than that, but for me, it was around the time when I first started getting into trail running, and it was so when I listen to it, I feel that joy of being at that stage. It was good feelings, good vibes.
Good vibes, I love it. Oh, this podcast has been such good vibes. We always judge them by cheesecake at the end, and I've nothing but cheesecake meeting and chatting to you, Keri. Thank you so much. Good luck with the book.
Thank you.
Share us a picture when you first get it in your hands.
Yes, I will.
That front cover. Good luck with the summer in the Alps in the van and with the art training.
If you never hear from me ever again, it didn't go so well.
You never mention it. You know, like people talk about stuff in podcasts, then it's never mentioned, and you go, "Did it happen? Like, I have to do something."
Family of four kill each other in the Alps.
Daily Mail headlines. Thank you so much for spending the time on the podcast, and we'll be tracking you at the Arc. Come back and tell us all about it.
Yeah, all right. Thank you.
When my wife catches up with the podcast,
my wife, the book will be out. So yeah, Lisa, if you're listening, a little late birthday present, that would be awesome. How far behind podcasts is Lisa?
Well, she wants to go for her birthday. She'd like to book up and go and have a course with Fran. So that's how far. That's how far.
Gosh, I think Bryn is like days, months. I don't think he can stand the sound of my voice, to be honest. And so he just can't. Very occasionally he'll come home and drop something in, but I don't think he's a regular. Fair enough. Thank you, Keri. Thanks so much for coming on the podcast. And I am sure I think it's July the 18th, the book comes out, Facebook will be spammed with people having a go buying the book. Yeah, and go and Google Girls on Hills if you want to check it out. Oh my goodness, Eddie, that went right. Vibrato. Thanks, Fenixlight. Apologies, Fenixlight, for that intro. Thanks, Fenixlight, for sponsoring our Strava Club and Tales from the Trails. Don't forget, patrons can enjoy 10% off over at fenixlight.co.uk. Guy G, 63.4 miles, the longest run of 50.2 with 7,566 feet of elevation. Now, Guy was doing the Stanza Stone Ultra. Oh, I saw that. Have you followed them on our Gram page, I see, and I've never heard of them before.
Have I really? Oh my goodness me.
Or have I? Someone has. Our content creator has.
Yes, our social media manager. Anyway, 50 miles, just over the 7,000 feet of vert. Nice one, Guy. Marcus, with a couple of emojis. Marsden, solid week, Marcus, 60.9 miles. 18-mile long run, 7,628 feet of vert. Yeah, strength sessions on the bike, some zone 2 work, strides, session.
Pin me down. Taking them off.
2 long runs, and I did see a big spike on Marcus's Strava bars. Yeah, he did the recent UTS 100 miles.
Heavy flex.
Vicky Dixon. This actually should have been me. The wheel picked me out this week to read my Strava deeds.
Oh, you've already gone into those. My God. No
I know. Couldn't do it twice. But yeah, Vicky Dixon, Endure 24. So total miles per week, actually, 81.6 with the longest run of 76 miles, 4,728 feet of vert. Yeah, Endure 24, 75 miles completed, repping a T and Trails Snood 2. Thanks, Vicky. And because you repped and you had an awesome week, you are this week's Heavy flex. Kudos to all our Strava Club members. And if you would like to be in with a chance of a random shout out, then yeah, pop over to Strava and join the Tea and Trails Club.
Strava reminded me of 68 miles of vomiting on the South Downs Way. It said, you know, when it goes, you have them, what were you doing this time last year? And I was like, oh, God.
It's always quite depressing, isn't it? Because last year I seemed to be a little bit quicker.
I did look through, I was like, oh, geez, Eddie, get on that treadmill. Hi there, both of you. As ever, thanks for the brilliant, so good, it really is double brilliant podcast that is the highlight of my week. Oh, it's highlight of my week too. Wanted to share a Tales from the Trails of me and my training buddy, Sarah or Sarah. I don't know. I'm going to go Sarah. Don't come at me. Sarah Tones, also a fan of the show. Sarah and I met through a mutual friend training for Lakeland 100 last year and both entered UTS 100K. I love that. We began to recce and train together from November and endured some seriously diabolical weather over winter and into the spring. From being blown off the pig track, crawling across summits, slipping on ice in the glidders and mud bogs fest galore. I was looking forward to sharing time in the race with Sarah, and standing in the starting pen together was always part of my vision in the race build-up. Oh, no, prepare yourself. Sadly, we ended up in different waves and I got a much needed 15-minute head start. But I felt confident she'd catch me at some point as she's a super strong climber. The heat was relentless on the day and even at 5 a.m. it was hot and I'd begin to feel sick before I'd even started the second climb. Fortunately, I remembered Eddie's experiences of heat and knew I had to just slow down and it would be a game of survival and not worrying about times. After an ordeal over the glidders and descent through Devil's Kitchen, I heard my name being shouted, and it was Sarah. Yeah. She had somewhat a reputation for falling over, so I jokingly asked over my shoulder if she'd stayed upright, and she just said, "Look at my knees." I hadn't even noticed when I saw her. Oops, but she had 2 bloodied knees from a fall on the pig track. Fortunately, she's also hard as nails. Of course she is. So just carried on. We had a nice time traversing up and around Tryfan and fell into a comfortable pattern of moving together that comes from spending all those hours on the trails. Descending down to checkpoint 2, she had what looked like an innocuous slip, but she immediately knew it was bad. We sat down and evaluated. Oh no, it was already ballooning, so I soaked a buff with water and put it on. Not even sure if that's in any first aid manual. Oh, it totally is. After a few moments, she was able to wriggle her toes and move her foot. Being the hardy soul she is, she got up, got her poles out and hobbled down to checkpoint 2. Fortunately, we had her husband and daughter there as it was a crude checkpoint. She wanted to carry on, but the next section was massive and that ankle did not look good. The medic was strongly against it. Oh, so the tough decision was made and the tracker was cut off. Oh, I feel that in my heart. Having to walk through the gate without her was super tough. I knew how much she wanted this race and she easily had a finish in her after all the work she'd put in. Oh, I felt quite emotional heading off up the, oh no, can't say that, without her, but vowed to get it done. Being the superstar she is, stop it. She then popped up again at Capel and then unbelievably was there at the checkpoint after the second Snowdon ascent, just before dawn, to make sure I was okay and do all those checkpoint jobs that make life easier. Plus the mental boost was priceless. Oh, I feel quite emotional reading this, Gary. My struggle was a story in itself, but this isn't about me. It's about my wonderful friend, and I crossed that line for her as well as me. Prepare yourself, dear listener. It turns out that the ankle injury was so severe, the ligament had pulled part of her fibula off. So she did all that crewing with a broken leg. What a hero.
Legend. Oh my goodness.
That is a legend. Sadly, does this mean that more likely we'll have to go back and do it all again next year? Laughing emoji. Oh my gosh, definitely. From Angela Green. Oh my goodness, you definitely will have to go back and do this. Sarah, I hope that leg is healing, but with all that kindness you poured onto the trails to Angela, no doubt your finish is there. We do hope that you do go back and you do it together. What a story.
That was epic.
If we were doing a race together, Gary, and I had to carry on because you were whining about something and couldn't, would you turn up at the crew points or you go to bed in the Airbnb? I think you'd do the last one. I'd probably
Greg's smashing the sausage rolls.
You'd send me just pictures going, keep going, Eddie, you're doing really well. I'm on the tracker.
You're doing awesome. Heavy flex.
Thanks again, Fenixlight, for sponsoring deals from the trails. We love them. We love sharing your deals from the trails. Oh, yes, we do. Keep them coming. Please email them to hello at teaandtrails.com. Don't shake your head at me. You've just been heavy breathing into the microphone for the last 2 hours. I love it, Eddie.
Love it. Would you like a hard review?
What do you mean by a hard review? Is this like hard to take, as in
coming in hard?
Oh, my life. Yeah, baby. Let's do this.
This review actually could be a Tales from the Trails. Oh, it's a lot of text for little Gary.
Oh, you can do it, Gary. I believe in you.
You got to do uncomfortable things. It's very healthy for your building, growing in life. Thanks for all the advice. Just listening to the She Ultra podcast on the long drive back from running UTS 50, it feels like the whole world was doing one.
I think they were. I think they were.
My long-suffering support crew, dog, sitter, wife suggested I put on a podcast, and I knew just the one for her. My cunning plan has worked, and she is now keen to do the 2025 She Ultra. I hope that there are some places left. Anyway, I just want to say a thank you for all the advice, especially from Brew with the Coaches. I pretty much ignored it all, but thanks anyway.
Yes, I love it.
Someone asked if UTS 50 is a good first ultra. The answer was no. This was my first ultra. I entered anyway. Someone asked how to prepare. Recce's are vital. I thought this was a good idea, but I live in Cambridgeshire and it's a bit flat, and Snowdonia is a long way away. I did manage to get the hills of Swindon on a visit to my mum, Swindon. It's only 1 letter difference, so I figure it counted. Other advice, don't get anything new on race day. Don't use poles unless you've trained with them. Thanks, Eddie. And you don't need them on UTS 50 anyway. Thanks, Russell. You can guess what is coming next. Oh my goodness me. At the race village, I got carried away at the Lecky stand and walked away with a pair of 2 bright pink carbon poles. So I got to the start line, and then although I got to the first checkpoint in good time, after that, I was skimming the cut-offs. The vert was relentless. I've been to Snowdonia, but I don't think it's ever not been hidden by clag. The tiny antline of fast competitors gave it an unwelcoming sense of scale. After 2 ascents of Snowdon, I was hanging from my new poles and struggling to take on food and fluids. Oh my goodness me. I was beginning to hope that I wouldn't make the cut-offs. Oh, well, we've all been there at the next and final checkpoint, especially as I could see the entire massive of the next stage. Unbelievably, I made the cut-off and was back out within minutes to spare. After a couple of kilometres, a gentle incline, the course took a right turn and the mass of Mole Ilio? Apologies. My goodness me. Apologies if I've messed that up. Was evident. To say I was daunted would be an understatement. Clutching for some kind of hope to cling onto. What would Gary and Eddie say? All I could think of was keep your shield high. Now, I've never really understood what this meant and had no idea how it applied to the situation, but it was all I had. So I thought I'd take it and I started moving on again. There was a sneaky little hill before a long downhill trail, and once on it, I tried a little jogging, and soon I shuffled along. I heard some feet coming up behind me, and thinking I was about to be lapped by a 100k runner, I drifted to the side. It turned out to be a DNF'd 100-miler out for a training run. With his encouragement, I was soon jogging rather than shuffling. Suffice to say, I pulled back half an hour and was able to run to the finish line. The hardest thing I've ever done, and I swore I'd never run another ultra. But then I started listening to the latest podcast. Thanks for the great advice and humour and banter, and most of all, inspiration. Ducky V69 via Apple Podcast Great Britain. Whoa, that again, all the stories from the UTS, they're just epic. They just keep on giving in spades. And yeah, whoever you are, that 100-miler out for a train and run,
What the hell?
What the hell? Yeah. But it's amazing. Yeah, you just give them that little push, that little bit of boost that you needed.
That was meant to be, your race didn't go to plan, but you helped somebody else. Karma is an incredible thing. We can't take credit for keep your shield high, really, can we? But glad. Super Jack Scott. But Jack will be thrilled. I know he's a big fan. That it helped somebody finish. I'm sure it's helped lots of people. I use it every day just to fend off the children. But it's actually a shield.
A physical shield, yeah.
Please keep those 5-star reviews rolling in. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Check out the YouTube channel, Gary, in a moment of madness. Just have a look at the heavy flex comments. Nice comments on there as well. Perhaps we should take a little scroll through there one of these days.
Oh, good idea. It was nice to see us both on brand, though. Orange.
We need to raise our game, don't we? We need to. One, I need to have a shower, and that's a high. That's a high. This is not going to happen.
A lot of admin, that isn't it?
There's a lot of admin, but I did brush my hair. But yeah, I think what we need maybe like a background of like. I don't know. What I really want is to be in one of those studios, Gary. That's my dream.
You know, when you see people, they blur out the background.
That's weird. I find that hard to look at. No, not a big fan. I'm like, be truthful. What is behind you? Dodgy.
Goodness me, I hope our next guest doesn't do a blurry background.
Dodgy.
We've got a competition, and for the month of June, our awesome friends Protein Rebel are providing 2 prizes to celebrate the launch of their new vegan protein powder. 5 tins in total, 20 servings in each tin to give away. 3 for our legend patrons and 2 for everyone else. All you got to do is be a legend patron, and everyone else needs to subscribe to the YouTube channel and add the word Heavy Flex to the comments in this YouTube video, episode 75, 74, 73, or 72. I don't mind. It's 100% free to subscribe. It's 100% free to subscribe to YouTube channel. So don't worry, it shouldn't cost you a penny. Winners picked at random, end of June.
What channels are you subscribed to on YouTube, Gary?
Oh, OnlyFans, stuff like that.
Feet are us. strong bodies, good glutes.
What do I subscribe to on YouTube?
Ben Parks, big fan.
I do like Ben Parks, but it's...
I watch those ones. I like it. I'm always amazed, like when he runs London Marathon with a GoPro.
Oh my goodness me, like 2.5 hours or something like that. He's smashing it out and he's just chatting away.
He's so chatty and like silent. Then I'd bin it halfway through because I'd be like, I'm not getting the time I want. I'm not showing this. Oh my God, look at my chin. Oh no.
Well, yeah. You know, it's a lot of admin. It's a lot of heavy lifting to take a camera to a race. It's not for me. I salute people I see doing. I think, wow, I'm like literally just hanging on for dear life, wanting to get to the end of this thing. The thought of doing a camera.
Zoe Murphy, I can't get the heart rate down. I can't get it down.
Exactly. Imagine that. And the GoPro too. Yeah. What a time to be alive. What have you got coming up, Eddie?
Oh, I feel I've shared so much this week. We don't really need to go into depth. Everyone will be like, oh my God, Eddie, you're going to tell us when you change your pants next to everything. Anyway, I alluded, we've got just before the summer holidays and we never see each other again. We're going for an adventure day. It's been quiet on the WhatsApp though, so I'm not sure what the plan is. We're hoping some refuges will be open because I like to get the balance between running and stopping for a €500 Coca-Cola up there. The weather doesn't look great though. The weather looks good the day before. I'm so tempted to go out the day before and purge myself, but then I won't enjoy the next day because I'll be really tired and I won't be able to keep up. I don't know. What shall I don't know. You'll see.
I'll be refreshing that weather app.
I haven't done a workout yet this week, but a couple of workouts in the plan, but I have done my gym. Well, just try and tick off another week and hope that one day my husband will come home and we can once again share the unpacking of the dishwasher and the hanging out of the washing and just generally having a friend to keep me on the straight and narrow so that I don't have to spend all my time talking to you.
Oh, thank you.
What about you? What's occurring?
Ooh, fingers crossed. Yeah, fingers crossed another solid week. Ticking them off now. Long run, medium long run, plus a session and all the weights. Yesterday, I got my core session done. Enjoyed that. Easy miles with Rexy
That
Lakes.
six-pack rippling.
Oh my goodness. You wait.
You wait, Eddie. As you run out of Coniston, is your vest just going to ride up a little bit? You're going to go,
I'm going to have a crop top. You know, they in cross country. Well, Dan Lawson smashed Centurion the weekend. I'm sure I saw a lot
First
of
thing he
Dan's
did,
flesh.
took his shirt off. I don't know if it's in the Centurion rules that you have to wear a top, because I'm pretty sure he would run without a top on. Maybe he's scared the backpack was going to chaff, but that was a sensational heavy flex as he came in for the second fastest time on South Downs Way 100, and then just when I'm so hot, took his top off and showed off the greatest tan. How he's got
Dan.
a tan like that when we have not seen a glimmer of the sun. He must literally be out there 24/7.
Dan, someone needs to have a chat with you about your sun cream admin, please. I'm worried for you. But yeah, Lakes trip on Friday too. 13 Valerie's Ultra Recce again. I'm not too sure of the section, but it will be 20 plus miles. I know I'm going to be pooped, so I really need to get that session done. I'm already thinking maybe not today. Yeah, today or maybe Wednesday.
Today.
Maybe Wednesday.
Yeah,
Do it Wednesday.
Let's do it Wednesday. Let's do it together on Wednesday.
Yeah, solidarity on the trails. I might do on Sunday also. We've got it's called the 17 Hills Challenge. I'm not going to go for a time or anything like that, but I might use that route because from door to door, it's about 12 miles and about 2,700 feet of elevation. So a little bit more actually than Lakeland 100 Trails. It reminds me, we're talking to Keri about the Arc of Attrition. You were saying like 200-300 feet or something for the climbs. So that's pretty similar. I did a hill session on one of the hills of Castle Dean, and that was from the bottom to the top was 200 feet. So that's what we're kind of looking at, Castle Dean. So yeah, if I can get about 12 miles, 2,700 feet in that zone 2, I will take that. Mileage wise, 12 miles isn't huge, but 2 big days on feet and a workout. All will be revealed next week.
Oh my gosh, if anybody tunes in after that, I'd be amazed. Jokes. Right, it's time for us to actually do some proper work, Gary. We'll have to, if you're still running, keep on going. If you're just finishing running, if you're coming within 20 minutes of your long run, you're not sure whether to take that last bit of fuel.
Oh, take it. Please take it.
You're going to feel so much better. You won't steal the old people's sandwiches. You're going to recover much quicker. And then you're going to go inside being a much nicer person. And you're not going to do what I have to do end of every long run, which is basically sit in a chair for about an hour staring at the wall until I actually can do anything. Oh my God, but it feels...
I've improved my meat. We talked about the green runners and my pledges. I really have improved my meat reduction. Cheese and onion pasty on the way back home from the lakes as opposed to a sausage roll. Little wins.
Well done. Little wins. Well done. Thanks to Precision Fuel and Hydration and Fenixlight for sponsoring this week's show. Don't forget, use code CAPSLOCK-T24 for 15% off your first order. Thanks to our partners and patrons too. Grand bisous. We couldn't do this without you and your ongoing support.
Be kind to your future self. Breathe and believe. Progress, not perfection, and keep your shield high. And yeah, don't mind the grind. Hope you all have a lovely, wonderful weekend. My name is Gary Thwaites.
And I'm Eddie Sutton.
And that was episode 75 of the Tea and Trails podcast.